Ever manage a team member who just can't handle criticism? This can be a very tricky situation. Over the 20 plus years of doing consulting and managing big projects in fields like IT and healthcare and manufacturing, I have come across this a lot. And I have some proven strategies that I myself have used in the field and I've taught to some of my students. And I want to share with you some of these practical tips. So let's get to it. Get ready first. Do not go in a guns, pew, 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 a-blazing. Please do not do that. First thing I want you to pause. When you have team members who cannot take criticism, you really first have to understand and look at the situation and understand how you want to approach it. That's going to be best for the team member. The second thing you want to look at is to analyze the situation. What exactly is it that you're looking to critique or give them some feedback on? Because that's going to be really important in regards to your approach. And once you've done that, really think about, before you're bringing them in, create a real safe environment. If you're going to be sharing criticism or critique and you know your team member doesn't have that ability to kind of detach and not take things on a personal note, then you need to make sure that they feel safe. And the best way to do that is to, in your office setting, private one-on-one, do not record anything. Just let them know, hey, what is said here stays here, and I want to share with you some things. Creating that safe environment is going to be extremely helpful. And the last is, before you speak to them, I really want you to think about compassion and empathy. Really think about the EQ, the emotional intelligence that we all have, and I want you to come to the table with that, because that's going to help you to put yourself in their shoes, have a little bit of an understanding, and more importantly, take a different approach, not one of getting to the point, but one of understanding where they're coming from so that you can really lay it out neatly. And if you need more information on emotional intelligence, don't worry, I actually have a video on this topic. So if you go to the YouTube search bar, put in Adriana Girdler, emotional intelligence, this video would pop up, so definitely check it out. Before we jump into the next tip, if you're serious about leveling up your project management skills, then you've come to the right place, because that is exactly what we do. I've helped thousands of individuals level up their project management skills, and I've created this 6 basics you need to know that's really going to help you level up and improve your project management game. Now, in order to get this, all you have to do is write free PDF in the comments below, and we will comment back with the link so that you can download it. Be specific and constructive. So when you're giving feedback to your individual who doesn't take criticism well, you do not want to be focusing on personality. People don't do well when they feel like they're under attack. So you focus on the actions, you focus on the activity that you want to address, not them as a person. So do not say, you know what, you never bring your reports in on time. That in itself is going to bring someone, put the back up for them and like, hey, what's going on here? And again, if they don't take criticism well right away, they're going to go to the personal, and it does feel personal. It feels like an attack. Instead, you may want to consider saying, Jane, I noticed that your last report was late. This is really impacting our timeline. Is there anything that I can help you with? And was there something specific that occurred that made that report late for you? And that in itself is not blaming Jane, but really looking at the task at hand that was late, the ramifications of why it's being late, and the impact on the timeline, which is why you're bringing it up to her. And as well, leaving it as an open-ended question so she can reply back, because you do want her or him to say, hey, this is why it occurred, so that you can have some feedback and ensure that you put a plan in place for the future report. Now, if the person is unable to give you any sort of feedback or information to your question, well, then you may want to suggest to them, hey, in the future, this is what I need from you. It's because of our timeline. We have things to deliver. You let me know if I need to do anything for you. In fact, what I'll do is I'll check in midpoint to just see how we are from a timing perspective. That's just a nice way to ensure things keep on track, but you're also giving them some feedback on the report that was late, and you're giving them some solutions to move it forward as well. Shift into neutral. When we talk about giving criticism to individuals, we're always thinking about that person. How can we go about doing it? How are they going to take it? But what we forget is, as much as we want for them to be safe, we also have to think, how are we approaching this? This is why we have to shift into neutral. We cannot bring in any emotional charge on our end. Now, why would we have even emotional charge? Well, it's because the reason why we're bringing up this criticism to the individual is because they're impacting our timeline or impacting something on the project, so we're feeling the pressure. You cannot allow for that pressure that you're feeling, particularly from the senior management, to have that trickle into your conversation with the individual. You have to let it go. When you're neutral, you're not going to bring in the emotional charge, which is just going to have, I promise you, a negative impact. Now, the cool thing is, it's actually not a cool thing. It happens all the time, this conversation, in regards to neutrality and not having emotional charge. And I know this because I talk to my students, my coaching students all the time about this, and we're trying to find ways as to how do we go about the neutrality. And the best way is just breathing techniques. Really look at the situation, come in, pause, breathe, and then really be clear. Even write down some bullet points that you want to speak to so that you can stay in neutral. Encourage self-reflection. Whenever you're speaking to that team member that you're providing criticism with, you really do need to get their perspective, because you want to have an understanding if they understand that why they're there and if they agree to it as well, because that's also really interesting too. So self-reflection is just an important technique for us as individuals whenever we're looking to make improvement. But when you're a project manager and you're leading team members who can't take that criticism and may not be into self-improvement, you need to prompt them to reflect. Now, how do you go about doing this? Well, in the moment when you're giving the criticism, you need to ask them, so this is what I saw. Can you tell me if you're seeing the exact same thing, or what's your perspective on this? So allowing them the point or the ability to kind of speak up and give their perspective is going to be really important. And after the conversation, you may want to say, if they ask, and maybe if it makes sense to even suggest, hey, here's some techniques for self-reflection. If they're like, hey, particularly if they go, hey, I never really thought of this before. And what you can suggest to them is maybe a self-reflecting journal. You may also want to integrate into your project meetings a time when everyone self-reflects as to what's going on with performance, so that now you just kind of make it as part of the norm of the team. So self-reflection is just something that actually is an amazing skill set to do for yourself and for our team, so that we can just get better at what we want to do. Provide follow-up and support. Helping someone change the way they receive feedback and criticism is not going to happen overnight. And if someone really is on that path of wanting to improve, then they're going to probably want your assistance on this, because you're leading the project and they're reporting into you from leading the project. And it is, as a leadership role, that's something we want to do. We want to help our team members. So there could be some books that you can suggest that maybe you yourself have written. Wouldn't that be awesome? That maybe you've read, although I do have books that I've written. As well as there may be some workshops, courses that either the organization offers or just outside that could be of really good assistance to your team members to help them. Show, don't tell. This is the two-way street concept. If we're helping people with criticism and we're giving it, because obviously when you're a project manager, we need to make sure people are delivering to what they promised to. They signed off on charters, etc. But if we're really going to help people get better at receiving it and being told like, hey, I need you to, up your game, or whatever that may be, that's going to help you with your project, it's a two-way street. You also have to be open and receptive to criticism, because guess what? We're human. We're not perfect. We're not all born natural leaders. It's a skill set. So guess what? As project managers, we have to be open to it as well. One of the techniques that I always do, particularly in the beginning of a project when I'm kicking it off, is I will set my ground rules. And one of those ground rules is just what I just said to you. It's a two-way street, guys. So as we're going through the project, if you're finding that I'm doing something that, could be improved, you need to let me know. And vice versa, if I feel there's something that you're doing that can be improved, I'm going to let you know. So what's really nice about that is you're setting it up without emotional charge and you're already setting up some expectations. But when people then come to you and give you feedback, you cannot get upset. In fact, you have to model the behavior that you expect from them. Now you may say, Adriana, this is a personal attack, and it's true, sometimes it does happen like that. So you need to take everything with a grain of salt, just like anyone receiving feedback should take everything with a grain of salt and really look at it from just a personal improvement perspective. But you can't discount it. You can say, thank you so much for giving me this feedback. I really appreciate it. What would be helpful for you? And now don't forget, what would be helpful for me is this, because again, it's that two-way street, so that when someone gives you feedback, it's not stopping something that you're trying to do, like a rule or an expectation, but you're ensuring you still get what you need. It may just be the delivery you have to change, but again, two-way street. Feedback, you have to model the behavior you expect from everybody else. Now that you know the best approach on how to handle team members who cannot take criticism, don't forget, earlier on I talked about this, the free PDF. You know how you can get it? The link is below this video. Okay, now that you know how to deal with a team member who has a hard time with feedback, you definitely want to check out this video, which teaches you how to create a positive work environment. Now, on that note, if you could like this video, if you found the information useful, consider subscribing to this amazing community, and I will see you at the next video.